I ask a very naive question. In which sense can we treat institutions as real things? I mean, as a part of reality. This is also an expression of naturalism. In which sense are economic institutions real? Like this table is a real thing. Can we think of an institution as something which is similar to a table? Well, in recent philosophical and sociological research about institutions, there are approaches which explicitly deal with this question. One is John Searle's theory of institutions, and his approach is to treat institutions as facts, which means as a part of reality. But he says this is a special kind of fact, because it is an observer relative fact. It is not an observer independent fact. A mountain out there is observer independent, but money obviously is observer relative, because it depends on people who perceive and use money. This is one approach. And the other, which is very influential in the analysis of financial markets, so indeed related to money, is the notion of performativity. Performativity means that in these research traditions people claim that the economy is a performance. You follow certain rules, and then, for example, financial markets emerge out of this rule-guided behavior, and they make certain theoretical assumptions true, which are behind the actions of people. Most famous was this approach. The application of this approach was by the British scholar Mackenzie, who did research on the impact of Black-Scholes formula on institutional development of financial markets. And so that is where this notion performativity is used. And it is precisely on this question how far institutions become a part of reality, so that there's also an emerging distance between the subject and the object.
So they think performance is ontologically primordial.
Yeah, I mean, a background of this is a speech act theory. Actually, it's somewhat strange because it's clearly related to Searle, but they don't use Searle explicitly. But you know, John Searle was also the father of one of the fathers of speech act theory. And in speech act theory, you have the performative acts, which means like marriage. I announce, you are married now, and so this turns into reality. To simplify, but this is the notion of performativity. So I take this as a starting point, and then the main idea of my paper is there a way to naturalize this? I mean, to provide a root for those concepts in the following way. First, what I try to show is that one can provide a neuroscientific view on the notion of performativity, the first thing. The second thing is, the same one can do for the notion of rule following, which is central to John Searle's approach. And my idea is, if one can succeed in doing this, then it is also relatively straightforward to build an overarching Darwinian framework for this, which is the next step. And then what is somewhat special to my approach is, I think it is also necessary to expand this, and including a theory of artifacts, which means that basically, as in the case of money, there is a strong relation between what we regard as an institution in the sense of rules, but also certain artifacts people use, like, of course, coins, for example. This is the general approach, and then I collect empirical insights. And of course, one important source of empirical insights recently is neuroeconomics in the narrow meaning. There is also psychological research on money recently. So this is empirics. It's not just theorizing. And second source of empirical information is historical information about the emergence of money, early money. So the second source of empirical data. And the third source of empirical data is closely related to this, what I said, research into financial markets. We have a strong research tradition now, the so-called social studies of finance, which is actually about behavior in financial markets. There are two possible references here. One is, of course, behavioral finance, but this is not the major source here. Social studies on finance is much broader. It includes, for example, anthropological research on financial markets. So these are the three empirical resources that I propose to use. And as you see, it is a relatively complex picture that emerges, and I've tried to give a map also of the paper to clarify those the different connections. What is central is, as I emphasized, is indeed John Searle's theory of institutions. And I don't use the entire approach. I concentrate on two concepts that Searle regards to be central. One is the concept of so-called status function. This is the basis of Searle's institutional theory, in the sense the status function means that a transfer of meaning takes place if an institution emerges. For example, money, you treat something as money. This to treat something as is Searle's status function. And of course, it is evident this is something like a metaphor. This is a shift of meaning. And so my idea is to analyze this in some more depth. The other component taken from Searle is rule following. Searle argues if people follow rules, they don't do it by some sort of rational decision. We don't follow rules because we know the rule and we give a clear reason. But he says the root of an institution lies in a behavioral disposition, which means that the rule is partly internalized. And he explicitly says that this sort of internalization, of course, in the naturalistic approach, must be seen as somehow related to neurophysiological conditions. So rule following as a neurophysiological disposition. So these are the two concepts that I pick up from John Searle.
Can I ask?
Yeah, of course, always.
I have not trouble, but